Do you think you're thriving, but others just see you as auditioning for a role that no one cast you in? Are you the hero of your own story, or are you just stealing scenes? Is it all just narcissism with a ring light? This week, we're diving into main character syndrome, something I had never heard of, that viral blend of self love, delusion, and cinematic lighting today on Off the Couch. And welcome to Off the Couch with Dr. Greg, because growth doesn't happen lying down. I'm Dr. Greg, psychologist, here with producer Brian Gomez.
Happy Tuesday, you guys.
And also we have Tony Sweet. Hi, Tony.
Hello.
So today on Off the Couch, we're talking about why everyone thinks they're the star and why that's a problem. We're going to be talking about something called main character syndrome, something literally I had only heard about, I think, a few days ago, when confidence turns into a crisis. So tell me about main character syndrome, Brian. You know about this? Give me your definition. This is something Brian knew about. I said, Brian, you're going to have to be the expert.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people right now talk about, being a main character or like, are they supporting act or are they the main character? Like in a group of friends, there's always like that leader, that one that seems to like make all the choices and like the popular one out of the group almost, that I feel like that would be like the main character. Or like it happens, let's say in different group settings or like work environment too, that it's just something, they're either like the main attraction or the main focus of that group,
Okay, so it's somebody who's the main character in a group? Or can you be the main character otherwise? I mean, I'm trying to figure this out. Here, I have actually 5 questions to see if main character syndrome, it actually isn't a clinical diagnosis, so please don't take it as one. It isn't the same as narcissism. In fact, we'll talk about the differences between main character syndrome and narcissism. It's become a pop culture phenomenon. Pop culture phenomenon for people who seem overly focused on their own story, attention, getting attention, and aesthetic. And where does self-celebration and narcissism end and narcissism begin? That's the question we'll ask. But here's the quiz. Do you often imagine your life as if it were a movie or TV show starring you? I'm going to hold up a finger and okay, Brian, right on. Okay, do you feel uncomfortable? Brian held up one finger. I'm holding up none. Tony, you do it. We're going to ask you at the end.
Okie doke.
Do you feel uncomfortable when others receive more attention than you do? Do you frequently post or curate content online to present a specific version of yourself?
I put a finger up on that.
All right, Brian. Do you struggle or empathize? I'm sorry. Wow, I'm not going to have a good time today. Do you struggle to empathize when others share problems that interrupt your narrative?
No.
Okay. And do you find yourself telling stories that make you the hero or the victim more often than not?
Well, my life gets a little dramatic sometimes, so
Okay.
I put up a finger on that one.
So Brian has 3. I have none. I really don't identify with any of these. Tony, what about you?
I only had one, but yeah, I didn't identify with most of those.
But I could see how a lot of people might identify with a lot of these. So let's go and let's tell Brian how he's answered. So 0 to 1, you're a grounded co-star in the ensemble cast of life. Thank you, Tony. You and me we're going to just hang together out in the cast. We're in the chorus line.
All right.
We're in the
High
back.
kicks.
High kicks. Brian, you like to shine. You may need to check your spotlight settings.
It's weird because I struggle with that, where I used to always try to not shine. Like I used to always try to hide in the background and not have the spotlight on me.
It's funny that he suggested this.
That I suggested it? Well,
No, Brian.
Weird about this.
And if you're 4 or 5, your story matters, folks, but so do other people's. And so it's time to start to balance the script and step back a little bit. Allow someone else to have a line or two in your play. So let's talk about uh, this phenomenon that really kind of intrigued me. And I think I was intrigued because I read about it and I'm like, I hadn't heard of this. And it's not a new concept. It's been around for about 10 plus years, maybe up to 15, but it's been around a little while and people are talking about it. It became a viral trend on TikTok and Instagram. When did you first hear about it, Brian?
Probably like a few years ago, maybe like 3 or 4. I would
3 or 4 years
that kind of
ago.
became a popular kind of term.
That's when it finally caught
Yeah.
heat. There's a psychologist who wrote about narcissism in young people.
Mm.
That's Keith Campbell. And he had a quote that it's not that people are more narcissistic, they're just more visible. He actually wrote a book called The Narcissism Epidemic, Living in the Age of Entitlement. And I have to say, I was intrigued by one of the opening passages of his book because it really nailed how we got here. So, how we got here, he actually wrote American culture's focus on self-admiration has caused a flight from reality to the land of grandiose fantasy. We have phony rich people with interest-only mortgages and piles of debt. We have phony beauty with plastic surgery and cosmetic procedures. We have phony athletes with performance-enhancing drugs. We have phony celebrities via reality TV and YouTube. We have phony genius students with grade inflation. Always a peeve of mine when people say, I had a 4.7 GPA. I mean, what's that? Because nothing went over 4.0, period.
Or when they lower the standards on tests throughout the years that you're like, okay, so they're just making it easier.
Yeah, that's not good either, right? To try to get everyone to pass the test. Um, we have a phony national economy. When they wrote that it was $11 trillion in government debt, I think now with the new big beautiful bill, it's going to be 3 times that amount, or up to 3 times that amount. I think that's in that range. I'm not an economist. We now have phony feelings of being special among children, with parenting and education focused on self-esteem instead of self-worth in a different way, self-esteem instead of self-efficacy, which we've talked about in the past, and phony friends with the social networking explosion. People always say, oh, this is my friend, and they've never met them. They just talk to them online and like their pictures. All this fantasy might feel good, but unfortunately, reality always wins. So he also wrote this book with Jean Twenge, who's also a big social psychologist. So let's talk about main character syndrome. This is what I found it was, Brian. I don't know that this actually, I'm trying to go by, I'm taking academic standards here. I'm trying to look to see what these are. Main character syndrome is a pop culture term. Why can't I say pop? I'm really trying to think about this. My tongue is really tied today. It's a pop culture term, not a clinical diagnosis, that refers to the tendency to view oneself as the central figure in all situations, like life is a movie and you are the star.
Well, in a way, don't you think it is kind of like that? Like it's your life and you are like the main person in your life. Or is it somebody else's life you're living?
I mean, I'm always in my own head, but I don't feel like I'm in a movie.
Or like you're creating the movie, like you're creating your life.
I don't believe I'm creating a movie.
You don't believe you're creating your life.
I think I really differ than the laws of creation, the law of creation, the law of attraction, the law of allowing, the law of creation. I don't know that. I mean, I know I can create manually, like I can do lots. I do a great deal, obviously, but I don't walk through and go, and now who will walk through that door is,
No, but if you step back and like look at from when you started school and how that path went and like all the adventures you went through, even like the good and the bad, you were the main person
I was the main
in
person.
your life that all this
Right.
was happening, and you were on this
Thought that.
journey.
I never thought that. I don't know
And
why.
you can't even look back now and think that.
I can think that, yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
But in that sense, like, that's normal, I would say. Like, it's your life. It's like when you're like, you're just taking control of your life. You're going the career you want to do. You're hanging out with the friends you like. You're taking control, like, as a main person in your life.
Even I had to struggle with, I thought, well, I have a podcast. I've been on a reality show. I've done tons of media. I've had a column. I've done all these things. Why would I think I don't have main character syndrome? Because I kind of would appear to.
And when you walk into a room, you are tall.
I'm tall.
And there's something about
look
you
at
that
me,
people look
etc.
at you.
Yeah.
That is very much along the board,
But I guess, hello. But I guess I don't see it as that I'm creating a movie. Instead, I feel like I'm seeking to connect with others. And that seems to be the point of view I continually come from. And we can talk about that. But I did struggle with this because when I was looking at this, I thought, how do I not identify with this, yet all the objective facts seem to point that way. And I thought, a long time ago, I thought, I don't really care about me. If I got attention for being me, like Kim Kardashian, I would just doesn't compute.
But I don't think, no, see, she didn't get attention for being Kim Kardashian.
Well, she got attention for doing a sex tape and then
Exactly. But it's not about her. It was the action she did.
I guess so. She had sex and she had a good body and
like a murderer. If he murders somebody, it's the act that it's not him. I mean,
okay, we can talk about this.
Yeah. Sorry.
I always thought I had something to say, like I wanted to contribute. I wanted to improve the lives of others. That was always like at the bottom line of what I wanted to.
And that's your main character's goal. And
maybe that is my main character goal. So Brian is clocking me here, even though I don't identify. So let's talk about the psychological features. Psychological features, they have a self-centered perspective. They prioritize their own feelings, desires, or storylines over others, which I don't think I do.
Well, that's my thing. I feel like you're not wanting to fit the title because there's like a negative perspective on the term main character.
I don't see it as negative. I'll talk to you
because
I struggled with how it was good. Yeah,
like the good movies where there's a hero or like somebody saves somebody. Like that is a good thing to be a good main character.
So they have a narrative bias, which is interpreting events through the lens of how does this affect me. They have performative behavior. They curate their identity, especially on social media, to fit a role, a vibe, an aesthetic. What? You laugh. Because this is you, isn't it?
It is, because for me, I just like to, first of all, I like to take pictures. You know that I photograph almost a bunch of stuff throughout the day, and I like to curate a little story. Even whenever I post, I even like to make sure that they all have the same filter. It kind of makes sense. So like if you look through my story, it's an actual story, not just like, look at me, It's more like,
really?
Look at the story of like my day.
I mean, it's a little look at me. You have to admit.
Sometimes it's not even me on there. It's more like just like, flowers or like the scenery or like the things I'm doing throughout the day. It's not even like me as my actual face or body or anything.
Yeah, or if you look at my current, like my Ask Dr. Greg Instagram, it's just all clips of me talking on this show. So you would say, oh, Greg, that doesn't offer a whole lot of variety there. And I'd be like, yeah, you're right, because I'm a very lazy person.
But you do have guests, so it's not just about you.
Oh, they're amazing. Yeah. No, I couldn't do it without guests. Also, I couldn't do it without you. I could not. I don't think the show would be any fun if I was just me talking. I really couldn't.
Well, thank you.
Or you, Tony. So the other is validation seeking, needing external attention or admiration to feel complete. So.
Because I have met people like this that it's just like, oh, you really are in your own little world and you don't care about anybody or anything around you, if it's not dealing with you. I had a friend, we were at a bar, and it got to the point where nobody was like directly talking to this person, that he was like, I want to go home. I'm over it. Like he was like, they're all ugly. And I'm like, what just happened? But yeah, I can see where.
I'm over it.
Mm-hmm. And just because we were all talking to like different friends at the bar, just because he wasn't getting direct
But how interesting.
attention.
So let's talk about that friend just for a second. He, number one, yeah, he might have this main character syndrome. He demands to be the center of attention. He doesn't like that other people are getting attention, etc. I think I grew up my whole life with other people getting attention all around me, for a variety of reasons. But that, so I can be there. I could be bored, let's say, if I were in his place, which means I've disconnected with the environment around me. And I'm not trying to like get to know people or talk to people or participate. Maybe it's not in me that night. Maybe I would rather be home watching TV than at a bar. Okay, I get that. I mean, a bar is it's a non-experience. I mean, you're just there to have fun. And if you're not having fun, then so be it, leave.
Yeah, sometimes it is just boring.
That is it.
You know?
But if he's demanding in his head, which I'm hearing from that, he has a demand that other people pay attention to him or they're ugly.
Yeah.
I mean, listen to that phrasing. They're ugly because they're not paying attention. Even if he's not saying that directly, he's certainly implying it. And if somebody's ugly, how are they not worthy of attention as well? I mean, people all have a story. And in fact, I've often found that beauty really truly is only skin deep, and people who are the most interesting are sometimes people that surprise you, the people you don't see it coming, people you don't expect.
Yeah.
So.
And it wouldn't matter if they were all ugly. Like, why would we leave? The bar. We just got there. It was very much like...
Oh, it was right in the beginning?
Yeah, it wasn't like we were there for long. We were at another bar, then we went to this bar, and we all happened to know friends that were at that bar, or people we knew there, and we all just kind of started talking, and then out of nowhere, it just seemed like he wasn't having direct conversation, so he was like, I'm over this. Everybody's so ugly here, and it's like, oh,
wow.
Okay. So I decided to just go home. I was like, I don't...
You went home?
Yeah, because I don't want to be around that. Like, I don't... Like, if you're that type of, like, rude person, like, I'm just like, oh, I just don't want to be around you if you think people are ugly because they're not paying attention to you.
There is a concept called projection, which people attribute other people with the qualities that they believe they have because they don't like that quality in themselves. So if he's not physically ugly, he may be less attractive on the inside as well.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's talk about, we're coming back to main character syndrome. I actually don't think it's out the gate negative concept. I don't identify with it, and yet I do all these things. So I had to grapple with that, which made me, when I went into looking into this concept, I had to look into cultures that were different than the U.S. because I was concerned that I thought, does this concept exist other places? Yes, it does, but it exists differently. And I think that's where I come in. But let's talk about this. At its best, it can be empowering. You reclaim your voice. You build confidence. You own your journey. These are such buzzwords. And at its worst, it can be narcissistic or delusional. These are the ones I like to use. Ignoring others' needs, distorting reality, and falling apart when you're not the center of attention like your friend.
Yeah.
So, here we go. Oh, here I'm losing my own narrative here with I have notes just for the listening audience. So let's talk about cultural drivers. It comes from TikTok and Instagram. Have you heard it anywhere else? I think it's a TikTok phenomenon. That's actually a thing. It's like a hashtag.
Yeah, but I feel like we also get it from media as we grow up. When we were talking about this topic, I was like, oh, I can see why sometimes my life seems a little dramatic or extra, but in our culture, like, we grew up watching telenovelas. Like, you watch the telenovelas and it's like the most dramatic, out of control thing.
That is true.
You get me? But that's what we're brought up watching, that's how, like, we're just explosive culture almost.
So it's so funny. I grew up in Southern California, and of course we did have Spanish language stations, which of course did have these programs. So when I would tune into them and see the telenovelas, we used to laugh like people were so overly dramatic because it was like almost like a joke, like music,
so campy almost, where you're like, this can't be real. But for us, that was entertainment, or that is entertainment for us.
So it comes from this whole self-help movement. I mean, plus the narcissism that we outlined in the previous, about that came from the narcissism book that he talked about that the culture was moving that way. We have self-help language, being the hero of your own story. There's a thing in psychology called narrative psychology, which is an offshoot of cognitive psychology, which kind of became its own thing, where people talk about telling your story and then retelling your story the way you want it to be, or recasting the story from the past. Honestly, I think it's a very valuable approach and works for people. It doesn't work from my mind, so I don't use it. Like I don't think that way
Yeah.
because I don't think in terms of my story and how I need to recast it. I look at my story as it happened. That's it. And I can take different views from it and different lessons from it, but I choose not to dwell in it. At the same time, I'm very aware. It's not like I forget it. And I'll bring it up and talk about it because it informs me. So I look at things a little bit differently in that particular way. I don't change the story from the past. I just change the not the narrative, the the sort of understanding of what that all meant.
Yeah, and what you can do with it.
And what I can do with it. Exactly. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for all the bad stuff as well as.
Dr. Greg, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I was thinking, because I'm not a person that usually likes the spotlight, but I do realize that when I used to teach aerobics, or I used to sing on stage, my personality did change to where I wanted to command the room. But as soon as I got off the stage or got out of the aerobics room or whatever I was doing, I went back to my kind of like, I just wanted to be left alone. Or not left alone, but just not the highlight.
A lot of performers say that. That isn't the only time I've heard that from a performer, but that's not universal. Some performers do, they
Oh, for sure.
lends into their personal life. I don't know that that's unhealthy, because I think the role dictates that you command the room.
Right.
Can you imagine an aerobics teacher didn't command the room? You'd be like, what the hell's going on? Why is that person over in the corner doing like flips or whatever? I don't understand it. And then the same with singing. You kind of have to. And if you don't, you're signaling or you're giving a message to the audience that you don't matter. So their focus of attention will go elsewhere. So when you're watching a performer, I would think it's healthy for them to connect with their audience as if they are having an individual conversation with every single person in the room.
So would that be considered a slightly a main character, not necessarily syndrome, but like
Activity.
right?
I think it would be, yeah, I don't think it would be a main character syndrome the whole time, but I think a performer does have to think about their image,
Yes.
because I think that's when we start to blend into what's healthy. And you have to think about your image as a performer. You have to think about what goes out there. I have to think about things. There are certain things I've had to turn down throughout my life because I thought, if I'm a psychologist and have done this, like somebody, when I was younger, people asked me, will you be in this calendar? Will you be in this? Will you do this? And I'm like, I'm in school, I'm doing these things. I'm like, I can't do that because that just wouldn't comport with being a psychologist. Although some therapists will bleed those lines. They may have done porn, etc. But I actually knew of a woman who I thought very unfairly. She was a Playboy model. She went through and got her PhD later in life. During school, did we have to go through these training experiences, and she was working in a prison. During the prison, she encountered a client who had her centerfold up in his jail cell. And she told her supervisor, that created a great controversy. They did not realize that she had done this Playboy centerfold, and they kicked her out of the program. To me, this was incredibly unfair because she stopped doing that, but unfortunately, those pictures lived on. So I think we do have to think about those things,
About your brand image.
about your brand image. But no, but I have to think about being a psychologist, etc. I would have to say, I don't know about you, Brian. Do you think I lead a flashy life, or is it fairly it's fairly benign?
I feel like if you took time and like posted about it, you might think different.
What do you mean?
You might look at your entire movie differently, you know?
Yeah, but then I'd have to take all that time to not live and be focused on the phone. Like to me, it's such a huge waste of time because I'm like, if I have to spend 15 minutes, it's 15 minutes. I don't have to do 15 other things. I'm like, it's just to me such a time suck, which I know a lot of people are. I mean, I don't fault you if that's what you like. I was watching an interview with a woman today. She's a Gen Z expert, and she was talking about being in Gen Z. And I was interested in what she had to say. And what was really interested is she said she flew next to a woman on the plane for 5.5 hours. So obviously New York to LA. She flew for 5.5 hours and was sitting with the woman. She said she was very nice, but she was on her phone on TikTok the entire time, 5.5 straight hours. And I just thought, and she was surprised that someone could hold their attention that way. And what she was concerned about is the addiction quality of these things.
Oh, yeah.
But bottom line is that was just a very interesting thing. I think that the author saw an interview was named Erin Scanlon, if anyone wants to look her up. Erin Scanlon. Yeah, she was very interesting. So, there are, other things, the influencer culture where we've put influencers now on pedestals, but they're like mini pedestals. We used to have big stars. Now we have little stars. And we have, some people pop, but a lot of people are little stars for these micro economies. And then we have a lot of people in this have trauma and neglect backgrounds that drive the need to feel seen. So I looked at this and I just want to touch on the cultural values because I was actually really interested. I thought this can't be just a U.S. thing, but it's got to look different in other cultures. And indeed, I was right. So in places like U.S. or Western Europe, where you're raised to be yourself, to stand out or chase your dreams, were you raised that way, Brian?
Yes, but because we came here to the States for a reason, it wasn't just like, oh, I think being a child of an immigrant is different coming here because you come here for like a better life. It's not just to come here and live a normal, regular life like everybody else. We could, like, my parents could have stayed in Mexico and we wouldn't have to, like, gone anywhere, you know?
So in my family, I had a father who I would say didn't just have the main character syndrome. He might have had a little bit more. I had a brother who was severely disabled. I had sisters who were all beauty queens, they were, and one was like valedictorian, very smart, and, et cetera. I mean, these were, I have to say, everyone around me sucked the air out of the room.
Dang, so there was no room for you to shine?
I didn't feel like that. I just kind of didn't feel like, especially because I had a brother who's a year older, who's very disabled. I felt like his needs mattered more than mine. And that was sort of the shadow I grew up in, which is very typical of people who grew up with an older sibling who's close in age with a severe disability. That is very much a typical dynamic. So I see how I didn't grow up with be yourself, stand out, or chase your dreams, but I did those things. Like I wanted to do, stuff in my school and do school activities and be in school government. So I eventually was in the top tier of the government, because I really wanted to do that, but I had to run for other offices. I had to get to that place.
Do you feel like you always wanted to be the main character low-key and never could because of the situation and the dynamic that it was?
I liken this to Jan Brady syndrome, that I was stuck kind of in the middle and that, attention went elsewhere. And sometimes I had to don a dark wig. You don't know. Jan Brady was a blonde. She was one of 3 blondes, and she marched dark brown afro wig in one of the episodes because she wanted to be different.
She wanted to be a main character.
She wanted to be, and everyone laughed at her.
But she got the attention.
She did, but it wasn't good.
But it was still main character of her.
And the person who is the co-star of that episode is the woman who did Lucy on Peanuts. the
Oh.
voice of Lucy on Peanuts. Anyway, fun fact. Okay, so posting selfies, personal wins, and dramatic life updates. By the way, I do not post personal wins. I really, really stay away from that. And I don't post when I travel. I want to post things sometimes. Sometimes I have, but in most of the time I don't. And I'm going to confess, when I've traveled first class, I do not post it, period, because I find it so vile and vulgar that people do stuff like that. And I will admit that. So I check myself a lot. What? You're laughing?
No, I'm not laughing. I'm just smiling because I have been a stupid victim of that. Where, like, again, sometimes, like, the friends and the peers you're around and they're doing that, or like, that's the lifestyle, or like, that's the story you're putting together. Where I'm
Well,
like,
I'm not saying it's wrong, but I am saying, like, for me, I always think of what are the 10 people who are sitting in coach thinking about me doing something. I mean, I don't think about them in particular, but I think, what is the experience of the person out there who would see something like that and think, what a dickwad? But maybe they don't. Maybe they worship that, and
or what if
that's
you're just
okay.
being
Like, let them be.
appreciative of it?
Well, then you can say to the person who bought the ticket, "Thank you so much. I really appreciate it."
Or
Or
what if you're just appreciating your moment of being in that first class? What if, like, that's the only
you
first
can
time?
share it with your friends.
What if they're not there?
Send them a text, group text.
Okay. What if they're all my friends on Instagram?
Look, I'm trying not to put it down. I know this makes me sound like a dick, but I will not, like, when I've gone in done some pretty spectacular things in my life, and I've not posted them. I've gone to parties. I've gone to things that, one party I went to, a couple. I've been to more than one. I've been to several parties where they said no phones,
Yeah.
no pictures, nothing.
Or there's certain restaurants, they
There are
put
lots.
the
There are
sticker over it and everything.
Oh,
Yeah.
I haven't been to that restaurant. I go to really, cheap places, let's face it. But yeah, I've been to lots of parties where that's been the case, and they are hardcore, and I appreciate that, actually.
But do you think it's normal to, like, want to post it? Like you said, you wanted to post your trip pictures or something, and you hold yourself back from doing it, like, because you have, like, what is somebody else gonna think?
Yeah, I have total neurosis about that. And here's what I looked at, because in collectivist cultures like Japan, India, and Korea, which I've often thought, oh, I'd do better if I were Japanese. Like, literally, I think I'd fit in that culture well. Maybe Korea as well, India, who knows? Things are different. The focus is more on fitting in. I don't care as much about fitting in, but I do. Maybe I do. But keeping harmony and putting the group before yourself, those are things that I operate from, even though I put myself forward a lot, because I do always want to do all these things. So I have to say I struggle with this. Being the main character can actually come off as selfish or attention seeking, which you don't want to do. So the main character syndrome there would be more like trying to do things for the group, which is how I fit.
Well, and that's how I always thought growing up I had to be, where it's like, I never wanted to walk into the room and people look at me. I never wanted that spotlight. Especially in the military. The military was not the place where you want to shine individually. It is very, like, if you shine individually, it is wrong. Like, you are not an individual there.
Don't they get volunteers and then make the person who stood out and volunteered go wash the latrine? I thought that was how they teach you not to volunteer.
Well, one time I was trying to be a good person, and it's like death by PowerPoint situations where, like, you're doing a lesson and they're like showing PowerPoints and you're trying your hardest not to fall asleep. If you fall asleep, you get in trouble. So at the end of the class, they were like, if anybody fell asleep, you should stand up right now and let us know. So I tried to do the right thing and be like, all right, I'm going to stand up because I did fall asleep one time, during this PowerPoint. Bam, had to do push-ups while other people lied and just didn't, like, admit to it or anything.
So they're teaching you to lie.
Well, at that point, I was like, I'm never going to stand up again for
But that's
this.
exactly it. They teach you not to volunteer. I mean, it's that. I think what they really are going for is the group dynamic,
Yeah.
the group cohesion. So let's talk about main character. It's an American thing. The U.S., someone posting a main character moment. This is the person walking down the street with their sunglasses on, dramatic music, praised for their confidence. In Japan, it would be seen as disruptive. So individualistic cultures, main character syndrome can be empowering. In collectivist cultures, it could be alienating in its Western form. So main character syndrome, I think, comes from more raising up of groups. Okay. So, okay. So main character syndromes when you act like life's a movie and you're the star, posing, sometimes forgetting other people exist. We see that. People walking down the street and you're like, who are they talking to? It's harmless and even sometimes healing unless it goes too far. Narcissism is how this is often mixed up. Narcissism may be a place you can go with main character syndrome, but it is not necessarily the case. Narcissism is deeper. It's not just wanting attention, it's the need to feel superior. You lack empathy or feelings of others, and you get defensive when you're not the stay on center stage. I'm thinking of your friend at the bar, Brian.
Yeah. That sounds just like that, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's unfortunate. They are really they're an energy drain.
Yes, and you know how you mentioned how some of this happens from like trauma as a kid? I feel like it's part of that situation. Like when, like, I feel like that person was just not very loved, like kind of shunned out of like the entire family.
Yeah,
You know?
that could be. And that person's way of coping is to demand that people love him or that somehow they're not valuable, so he's taking control of the situation. But it can go into narcissism but that's more of a personality structure, not just vibes. Like, oh, I just want to, wear a colorful outfit and have people pay attention to me. It's more like, I demand it, or I'm not valuable as a person.
Craving the attention.
And it's really a pattern. So let's talk about a fun analogy. It's like someone who shows a main character syndrome, someone who shows up to brunch in sunglasses. I think sunglasses are a theme here, saying lighting is awful. This lighting is awful for my close-up. And they're posting a picture of themselves with their avocado toast with a Lana Del Rey caption.
Oh, I can see that.
Summertime blues, I guess. They want to feel seen. They live in the fantasy. It's dramatic, but mostly harmless. Narcissism is the person who takes your toast, says their meal looks better, and makes the conversation about their latest win, and rolls their eyes when you talk because your story really isn't all that interesting. Oh, that sounds familiar?
No, I try to stay away from people like that.
They don't just want attention. They need to be the only person who matters. So, movie analogy, main character syndrome, Elle Woods from Legally Blonde. Elle Woods, that was, who's the actress that played that? I know, I forget too.
Freaks.
Yeah, she's amazing. So Elle Woods, she's stylish, confident, and self-focused with growth and empathy underneath. She really cares about other people. So
there wasn't any maliciousness behind her.
That's why I'm saying it's not necessarily a bad thing. And I don't think it is a bad thing. Narcissism, Regina George from Mean Girls. Regina George, she's charming, she's manipulative, and always calculating how the spotlight benefits her.
Yeah, she was amazing.
So how it can be helpful, let's go through these. And this is where I think you misunderstood, because I was thinking it can be helpful in certain ways. It boosts confidence and agency. Like, I matter, my story matters, and I can make my story, taking charge. It encourages self-care and boundaries. So it's like, I don't want to be around toxic people. I'm going to, try to be around people that really I care about. And I have to say, I do stuff like this. I try to position myself around people I care about. And I'm not as discriminating. Like, I will talk to a strange person at a party. I don't care.
Yeah, if somebody's nice to me, I'm nice to them.
Yeah, and I just, so I'm not that discriminating, but at the same time, if I see them as narcissistic or mean in any way or talk about other people in a negative way, I'm like, okay, out of here. But if they're like, making jokes and laughing and I don't know,
And that's the
that,
thing. You can pick up these little red flags from people when, they're mean, they're talking bad about somebody else. Like you can easily be like, all right, this is just not my cup of tea that I want to be around.
also, main character syndrome heals past invisibility or trauma. That's the Jan Brady syndrome. For those who feel ignored or dismissed or erased during childhood, main character energy can be powerful corrective experience. Sounds like your friend needs to dial it down. And you think, I get to take up space. Like, it's okay. And that person, like, could stand there at the bar and feel good about being there and just watching other people interact and watch the show. I mean, to me, that's entertaining. And
Yeah.
what also is entertaining is, like talking to my friends or hanging out or even talking to somebody who isn't talking. And I think the problem in gay bars is people will think, oh, he's trying to pick up on me. Like, it's so funny to me that gay men are often not the nicest people because they don't want someone to pick up on them or think, they don't want to be rejected. I don't know what the deal is, where it cracks me up that, I, and maybe, I have straight guys, women, no problem. Like chat, 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 all kinds of, fun, but sometimes the gay guys aren't as chatty. And number 4, it creates narrative meaning, and that's that narrative word. Framing your life like a movie or hero's journey helps people process struggles and find purpose. So it's coping strategy. So Brian, I tried to get you to watch a movie a long time ago called Ingrid Goes West. Please tell them how far you got in this movie before turning it off.
I can't even remember the first scenes.
Okay, so let's talk about this movie because this was main character syndrome. The whole movie was about this, and I thought it was the most fascinating movie. So when I was doing this, I'm like, wait a minute. This is Ingrid Goes West. This is that movie. So Ingrid Goes West is a movie from 2017. It starred Aubrey Plaza. You may know her as April from Parks and Recreation. So Aubrey Plaza plays Ingrid. She's a lonely, unstable person, possibly borderline personality, who becomes obsessed with this glamorous Instagram influencer named Taylor, played by Elizabeth Olsen. After moving to LA, Ingrid, Aubrey Plaza, reinvents herself to infiltrate Taylor's life. And she does it by tracking all these events that Taylor goes to, like knows her life through Instagram. And she tries to create a picture perfect friendship and curated lifestyle. So she presents herself as this other person and then infiltrates this person's life. And then suddenly starts to see that Taylor's life is not what Taylor curated. The Taylor actually is a more full-bodied person and has some dark stuff behind her as well. Then the movie unravels with some dark comedic consequences. It's actually a really good movie, and I do recommend it. But why it's a main character syndrome study, Ingrid lives as if she's in a movie the whole time instead of living authentically. She curates her identity through social media. That's how she presents herself and pushes herself to others. She thought her aesthetic equals worth. Ingrid sees others as supporting characters in her narrative and falls apart when they don't follow the script, including the one she's after, which is Elizabeth Olsen's character, Taylor. And her obsession with being noticed, liked, and adored mirrors the unhealthy extreme of the main character syndrome, where the need to feel seen overshadows genuine connection.
Yeah, I'm glad I've never felt that need to be seen. I mean, like I'm telling you, I used to want to not be seen most of the time. And when you talked about how it empowers you, I'm like, oh, I do see that where when I stop trying to hide from the spotlight or anything, or just hide from like taking up space, you do navigate the world a bit differently. Like I have to do that sometimes repeatedly if I'm at an event where it's like, oh, it's like a bunch of industry people and it's like you kind of shrink a little bit around like those big main characters, that then it's like you have to be like, wait, I'm also a main character here too, that then it gives me the confidence and boost to be able to just navigate through it.
I have to laugh because I went to a cast party for a TV show, and it was just the two producers and just the cast, just the main cast, just them. And I'd seen this show. A friend of mine was on it. He invited me. He didn't know that he wasn't supposed to bring a guest. So I went with my friend. And it's a small party because it's only, 10 people in this cast. So I go, and it's a popular show. And I go and I sit in the back. And I was with one of the actresses. And I said, oh, gosh, I guess you and I are the only people not on the show. She goes, yeah, she just went with it. She was on the show. It's just that she played characters, on the show that were not look the same as she does in person. God, but she played along, and then my friend walks up and goes, how do you know each other? I'm like, we were both talking about not being on the show, and he's like, she's on the show. And then she laughed. She thought it was the funniest thing. And then we went out dancing that night. So she wasn't super offended, but the reality is sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes it's just kind of weird how life goes. And that ended up being an entirely enjoyable night and a fun story to retell because my own sort of stupidity actually helped me be with this person.
Connect.
Because I probably would have been like, oh my God, I just would have felt so alone.
And I'm sure that they also felt kind of like relieved by that you didn't even know who they were, that they could just be their normal selves in that sense.
Maybe, I bet there's a little insult. But let's talk about tips to stay grounded if you have main culture syndrome or main character syndrome, maybe main culture too. Practice empathy daily. I think Elon Musk said empathy is the greatest weakness of Western culture. I think that is the greatest mistake and the greatest lie I've ever heard. In fact, empathy is our primary connective mechanism. So practice empathy. Try to see what it's like to be in other people's shoes and be mindful of them. Empathy deepens connection with another person. Don't just keep the focus inward, focus it outward as well. Reality check your narrative. When you catch yourself saying, everything's ruined, or I'm the only one who cares, pause with your distorted thinking because you know what? It's just a blip in time. It's just a moment in time. We talked about last week. Was it last week with Monique, allowing? Yeah. And that is, this is where we could just allow things to be even when they are negative. Celebrate others' wins. When someone else gets attention, praise, or success, applaud them. The spotlight doesn't shrink when shared. It gets warmer, brighter, and more human. And I certainly feel this with friends and stuff, but sometimes with very, very, very particular situations, I have felt like I needed to focus more on them. Because I feel like,
I always feel like if my friends win, I win.
Oh, that's nice. That's very nice. Journal with honesty. So journaling is good, but do it with honesty. Don't just document highs and heartbreaks, which is what most people do. Put your mundane every day. I did laundry today. I talked to a friend and we had lunch, and I walked the dog, whatever. That actually helps you even out those dramatic peaks and see that your life is kind of a normal thing. And that I used to always say that if I put on Instagram my everyday life, it would just be me doing laundry and doing the dishes and, vegging out in front of the TV and, going to the gym, yawn. But it can also help develop gratitude when you can start to see, I've got this great life. And, it isn't always exciting, but it's good.
Sometimes those good moments are just precious enough to be grateful for those.
Also ask for feedback from others, especially from trusted people, about how you come across. It isn't a sign of insecurity. It's a powerful tool for growth. I know we're often told not to ask other people, and whatever. If they're in their main character syndrome, they may want to or narcissism, I guess, they're going to want to refocus it on themselves. So stay away from a narcissist to ask this question. Just stay away from a narcissist. I mean, why is that helpful? Okay, so Main character syndrome can be helpful when it uplifts you without diminishing other people. It's problematic when it disconnects you from reality, becomes performative over authentic, and eclipses empathy for others. So it's okay to be the star of your own life. Just don't forget the supporting cast, Brian. No. Healthy self-focus. Healthy self-focus leads to self-awareness, not self-obsession. Main character syndrome is a signal, not a diagnosis, so it's something you can look at. I hate it when we say personality traits because we all have personality traits. When you actually have the diagnosis, it's really a significant pattern of behavior that is harming yourself, your relationships, and your work life as well. So also look at writing your own script, but do so with empathy and growth. And be the star, not the diva. Okay, Brian, let's go with listener questions.
Okay, we don't have much time, so we're going to have to go through
How
this.
much time do we have?
Like 5 minutes of that.
Let's do it.
Okay. Hey, Dr. Greg, I've been told I have main character syndrome. By my friends, but honestly, I feel like I'm finally putting myself first. How do I know if I'm just growing or being self-centered?
Yeah, to you're self-centered. I guess if we can go back to what I just said, if you're not including empathy, and and considering the needs of others, there's a dynamic we look at in being assertive. Assertive is not aggressive and putting your own needs first all the time. It's really asking for what you want and being respectful of what the other person wants and trying to come to an agreement there. So I would say to the person, if they're just trampling over the needs and wants of others, then they're actually veering more into narcissistic behavior. But if they're trying to mind their own behavior, then that's actually can be a good thing. But they also need to understand this a human dynamic. If you're somebody who's always passive, you're always yielding to the needs of others, you're always staying in the background, the minute you do change the dynamic, you change the orbit of the planets. So if all your friends are a little universe and all the planets are revolving around each other, if you change your orbit, that's going to change the orbit of all the other planets. So they're going to react and they're going to try to get you to push you back into that previous role. So I would say to that person, go ahead, proceed with caution, be mindful of others' needs, and don't listen to the naysayers who say you can't be looking out after your own self.
Yes, but do you ever feel like sometimes they jump off the deep end into that and like completely just start cutting off like lifelines that they shouldn't just be cutting off?
If they're doing that, I mean, you could express concern, but if they make that choice, let them make that choice and be sad about it. But it's the choice they're making. But I would step back from you trying to put your agenda on them, but rather to say, this is my concern that you're hurting yourself
along the way of trying to heal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, the second one's for me if you want
Oh,
that one.
good. It's a Brian question. Brian, I love your energy and confidence and narcissism. No, I'm just kidding. No, wait, that's not what it says. It says, I love your energy and confidence. How do you stay grounded when you're the center of attention without letting it go to your head?
Well, that's the thing I've always kind of struggled with, just either blending in or like accepting the spotlight. But I'm genuinely a nice person that if I feel or see anything or somebody feeling down like that, like I never let that happen. Like I want to make sure I fix that. Like I'm big on empathy. I can feel when people are feeling certain ways. That for me, that's easy to just view,
I have another Brian question. I know you said two, but I want to ask one more. Brian, how do you handle those moments when life doesn't feel like a movie, like the boring, quiet stuff? Do you ever struggle with that too?
No, because that is part of the movie. For me, all the little things, like it's all part of my movie. The mornings, I go to the dog park every morning. That's part of my movie. It's nothing special on the walk there or being at the park, but like it's nice. Like I just enjoy. I've made friends at the dog park that we see each other every day. My dog has friends that she sees every day. Like it's boring, but for me, I've learned to appreciate the boring little things. Me having a roof over my head is beautiful and special to me every single day to wake up to that.
Well, that's amazing. Brian, you're going to ask me number 5. I looked at I'm such a bad listener, but but I want to do that one because it's something I encounter all the time.
Okay, number 5. Okay, real talk. I got jealous of a friend's success and immediately posted a look at me reel. I know it's petty, but how do I stop making everything a competition?
Oh, that wasn't what I was posting.
Oh,
That
it was
wasn't what I was
the
picking.
Dr. Greg?
Yeah. I could, what was that? You have to read it again. I was like, oh, wait, man, that's not the question.
I got jealous of a friend's success and immediately posted a look at me reel. I
Yeah.
know it's petty. How do I stop making everything a competition?
Well, you stop posting the look at me reel, number 1. Okay, so when you have a compulsive behavior like that, it's driven from attention in yourself. And what drives that attention? That tension is an insecurity. So you have this insecurity, you feel this tension when your friend posts, their success. You put a look at me reel. That's your behavior. You feel a little bit better, but what does that lead back around to? Your insecurity. It'll make you your insecurity will get worse as a result. The only thing you can do if you want to break that pattern is to do one of 2 things, and ideally you do both of them. 1, don't do the compulsive behavior. Don't do the behavior, which is posting the reel. And it'll hurt because you feel that tension, but bite your tongue, or bite your lip or whatever. Like, keep yourself from doing it. And or sit on your hands, whatever you need to do. And the other is to work on your insecurity. And for that, maybe even go to therapy or start to work on other things, maybe some journaling or something like that. You need to work on that insecurity. Keep it out of your friend's business. And if you really want to help yourself, this would be an interesting thing. Send them a congratulations card. Go to the store, buy a congratulations card, send it, and that's it. Make no other communication about it. The person will be blown away. You sent them an actual card in the mail and will be so indebted to you. And believe it or not, your opinion will change in that direction. I don't want to go into why, but when we start to do behaviors in a different direction, it actually starts to change our thoughts and behaviors.
I was going to ask, do you think it would work the same way if they reposted that if their friend posted it on Instagram?
Yeah.
Put it on their own story
It's lazy.
and being like, congrats to my friend or something,
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah,
pretty much.
it's lazy.
posting. Oh, okay. Well, people don't really write letters anymore.
No, I'm saying it's
So thank you cards is going to be a big
when
one.
you do that, you're almost okay. This is why I don't like that, because what you're doing is saying, "Hey, give me a like for that person's success." Because the reality is, you're just reposting their success. Yes, that's great, but you have to either redirect them back to that person's profile,
Well, yeah.
but most people are going to be like, "Oh, okay, that's great." I just would rather have you, if you want to change the behavior, that's the route I would take, is to do
Gotcha.
something harder.
Gotcha. So you're actually going out of your way
Yeah.
to do it. Okay.
It will change the behavior. If you just repost, it's 2 seconds out of your life.
Okay.
And you're going to get likes. Oh, look at you. You're such a martyr. You reposted your friend. Look what a great soul you are. No one will know that you sent them a card.
Damn. Okay. Or flowers.
Or flowers, yeah. Except to the people they choose to tell.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to do this one that you wanted?
Okay, here we go.
Okay, real quick. Dr. Greg, is it normal to feel like people don't get your story unless you make it dramatic or aesthetic? I catch myself performing even in therapy.
Yeah, and this is I have people who want to perform in therapy, and they'll come in and say, I didn't have anything to discuss today, or nothing dramatic happened this week. And I always say, great, because this is when the work can begin. Because what we're trying to do is cut through the BS, cut through the story. We want to get into what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what's going on for them. And sometimes when they just talk and don't have a grand agenda is when the real work can happen.
And I can verify for that, because there would be times where I would go into therapy and be like, honestly, I was trying to figure out what we were going to go through and all the tasks I wanted to discuss and everything, but there was nothing. And honestly, those were the times where things would just come out as I spoke about what I was doing that week. Even if it sounded boring or uninteresting, that's when, like you said, the work would start.
So that's it for today. We went well over. Thanks for joining us on Off the Couch. If you saw yourself in any of today's patterns, take a breath. You're not broken, you're just human. Remember, insight's the first step, but action is what moves the needle. So whether it's breaking a pattern, reaching out to someone new, or simply being kinder to yourself, that's the work. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend. And don't forget to rate, review, follow Off the Couch with Dr. Greg on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. You can see studies around narcissism, so a couple of articles on main character syndrome, and a bunch of stuff. If you really want to do a deep dive, go to my YouTube page at youtube.com/Dr. Greg. Also, I have a handout with the quiz. I have the I have the how to score the quiz, and I have the tips on how to handle main character syndrome if that is overcoming you. Until next time, hit us up on socials at Ask Dr. Greg. This is Dr. Greg, Brian, and Tony bidding you farewell. Until next time, be present, be flexible, and be kind.